long ago, in the belly of a sun-baked land where the acacia trees stood like silent warriors and the rivers sang at night with frog and moon, there lived a man known only as Lumo. In the village of Mbali, nestled between the great hills and the red earth that cracked with thirst, his name was not spoken lightly. Elders would shake their heads when they whispered it, and mothers warned their daughters to keep their eyes low if he ever walked by. Not because Lumo was cruel or cursed or wild like the wind, but because he was born different. Carved by the ancestors, people said. A man not made for ordinary women, Lumo had the kind of presence that made drums beat faster and goats stop chewing. He was tall like the baobab tree and dark like the soil after rain. His chest was wide, his arms thick, and his voice deep like the calabash drum when the Ngoma dancers hit it with fury. But it was not his chest or arms or voice that people feared. It was what the gods had given him below the belt, a blessing so large, so fearsome, so legendary that women who tried to lay with him came out shaking, some never to return to their husbands, some never to speak again. From the age of 18, tales started to rise. The chief's daughter, Anea, who had stolen into Lumo's hut one night and came back limping, her eyes distant, whispering nonsense to the wind. The merchant's widow, Zuba, who used to laugh loud and flirt with every man, suddenly became silent and took to the hills to join the silent sisterhood. And then there was the healer woman, old and wise, who tried to help Lumo tame the fire, as she put it. She left his hut pale and trembling, her fingers twitching like she'd seen the spirit world. Women wanted him, yes, the way a moth wants the flame, but none could hold him, none could match him. Some tried with potions, others with positions, but always the result was the same. They left broken, mind scattered like millet on the floor. Lumo, for his part, was not proud of it. He was a lonely man. His eyes carried a sadness like the last rain of the season. He wanted love, true love, not just whispers and daring looks. He had the soul of a poet, but the body of a warrior cursed with too much. Even his own mother, before she passed, told him, "Lumo, your path will be long, but one day one woman will not fear the fire. She will be born with the storm in her bones." That woman had not come. Not yet. Until one season, when the rains came late and the cattle were lean, a caravan arrived from the east. Traders, dancers, wanderers, and one woman named Kesia. She was not like the women of Mbali. Her skin was the color of roasted coffee, her hair wild and coiled like she had lions hiding in it. She wore a spear on her back, though no one saw her use it. She carried herself with the silence of someone who had walked through fire and found it boring. From the moment Kesia stepped into the village square, something shifted, the wind changed. The chickens scattered. The old dog sat up. She did not smile. She did not flirt. But her eyes scanned every corner of the place like she'd seen it all before and was still unimpressed. Lumo was by the river when he saw her for the first time, kneeling to wash a bowl, his chest bare, muscles rippling like a story about to begin. Kesia walked past him, her gaze brushing against his like two blades clashing. She did not blush. She did not lower her eyes. She just nodded once, like warriors do. That night the village buzzed with talk. She looked him in the eye. She's not from here, maybe she doesn't know. She will know soon enough. But Kesia knew. She had heard of Lumo long before she came. The stories of the man whose manhood turned strong women into shadows. It was half the reason she'd come to Mbali in the first place. Not because she wanted to conquer him, no. Kesia had already conquered deserts, bandits, men twice her size. She had nothing to prove. But something in her had always burned for the impossible. She wanted to see if the legend was real, and more than that, if she could match him not just in body but in spirit. Days passed. Lumo tried not to notice her, but she was always there. Gathering firewood in the thicket, carrying water from the spring, helping the old women mend baskets. She worked hard, spoke little, and laughed like thunder when something truly amused her. Not like a girl trying to charm, but like a lioness catching scent of something honest. One evening, after the drum circle had died down and the fireflies danced in the tall grass, Kesia approached Lumo. Not shy, not bold, just certain. "I hear you're dangerous," she said, hands on hips. "I hear you are too," Lumo replied. She smiled. "I'm not afraid." Many said that. Lumo said, his voice like slow honey over hot coal. "Were they like me?" He studied her. No, they were not. She had that thing his mother once said, the storm in her bones. He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped back and motioned for her to follow to his hut. The villagers watched from behind doors and under mats. Children were rushed inside. Old men started lighting protection herbs. Women crossed themselves in the names of all the gods. No one had dared follow Lumo home since the last one lost her mind and wandered into the river. Inside the hut, it was quiet. There was no seduction. No games. Kesia took off her sandals and sat cross-legged on the mat. "You think I will run screaming," she said. "I hope you won't." "I won't," she said. She rose, stepped close to him, her body humming with a kind of electricity that made the air buzz. She reached for his cloth wrap, but he stopped her. "Don't do it unless you mean to stay," she nodded. "I don't run from storms, I ride them." And when their bodies finally met, heat against heat, scar against scar, breath upon breath, it was not like any of the other times. Lumo braced for the scream, the tremble, the fear. But Kesia matched him, moved with him. Her eyes never wavered. Her body did not break. She rose like fire, arched like lightning, and met every thrust with a challenge. Outside, the night sky cracked open. Rain began to fall, though no clouds had been there before. The wind tore through the village like a song never sung. The goats bleated. The drums beat themselves. And the old healer woman in her sleep sat up gasping. "It has begun," she whispered. Inside the hut, the storm built. Not of violence, but of power. Lumo, for the first time in his life, let go. Not because he wanted to dominate, but because he could trust. Kesia's body did not fear him. Her spirit embraced him. She was not overwhelmed by his gift. She was made for it. Hours passed. Or maybe it was days. Time had no meaning in that hut. Just movement and sweat and moans that echoed through the walls and into the trees. When they emerged, the sun was rising. Kesia's head was high, her limbs strong. Lumo walked behind her, quiet, smiling for the first time like a man who had been found. The village was silent, not in fear but in awe. The earth was still damp from the storm. The birds were already singing. The ancestors were awake. Women looked at Kesia and did not see a victim. They saw a mirror, a possibility, and the men looked at Lumo and did not see a curse. They saw a man complete. But this was only the beginning. For love, like fire, does not burn once it spreads, and not every storm ends in peace. Some, like Kesia, arrived to teach the thunder how to roar again. The days after their union were like honey poured on hot stones, sweet, golden, and dangerous. Mbali village had never seen such peace. Chickens laid twice as many eggs. Crops sprang without being asked. And even the stubborn winds that used to fight the rooftops came quietly at night to listen to the breath of Lumo and Kesia. Now a rhythm the land seemed to follow. But stories, like rivers, must twist before they settle. One night, Kesia sat under the moon, her back bare, her eyes scanning stars like she was searching for a name she'd forgotten. Lumo came to her and sat without words. Her silence was full of something ancient. "Something's coming," she finally whispered. "Something that's been waiting for me." Lumo didn't ask. He had learned not to fear what she felt. His hand found hers, and on the third night after the full moon it came, the sky split. Not with rain, but with silence. Not a sound in the trees, not a footstep. Even the drums in the hearts of men paused, then he stepped into the village. A being made of mist and bone, taller than Lumo, eyes like melted stars. He wore no face, but his voice rang in every skull. "She is mine." The villagers dropped to their knees, even the goats whimpered. The thing pointed a long, pale finger at Kesia. "You broke the pact," it said. "You were promised. Before you were born, you belonged to the void." Kesia stood. "I belong to no one." Lumo moved to protect her, but she held him back. "Let me end what began before breath," she said. And then impossible happened. Kesia floated, her feet rose inches above the red earth. Her eyes rolled white, her body glowing, her hair lifting like it remembered the winds of another world. She began to sing, not with lips but with soul. The sound cracked stones. It peeled the bark from trees. It made the bones of ancestors stir under the ground. And the being, that thing from the dark before light, began to shrink. It screamed, not in pain but in fear. "I remember now," Kesia said. "I am not yours, I was the void. I became woman to love. And in loving Lumo, I made myself real." And with a final note, a sound never recorded, never understood, she clapped her hands. The being shattered like pottery, gone, not dust. Not wind, just nothing. The villagers stood in awe. The healer woman fainted. The birds began to sing again. Kesia turned to Lumo, now shaking. "You were the door," she said. "You opened me. You called me back to flesh." Lumo knelt, but Kesia touched his face and whispered, "Stand, my king." Then she vanished, not in pain, in light. Her body became smoke, her eyes became stars, her voice became wind, and from the sky fell a single feather. Lumo caught it, he wept. But not from sorrow, from truth. She hadn't left him, she had returned home, and in his hands the feather pulsed, warm. Alive, a child grew in Kesia's absence, from the feather, from their breath, from their fire. A girl, born under a silent moon, with silver eyes and stormlight in her bones. And when she laughed, the world bloomed. Unbelievable, yes, but love always is.